I had a conversation with the indie legend Jeff Vogel, who has had a 30-year career as an indie game developer. You heard that right. He started making indie games in 1994. That was 4 years after I was born. And this was long before it was cool to make indie games. And he said something that shocked me. He doesn't care if his game looks good. In fact, he openly admits that his games look bad. But he's not lazy. No, he has a long-term, well-thought-out strategy that has kept his studio in business for 30 years. Here's the thing. You're not going to survive if you focus on making everything perfect in your game. You probably won't finish your game. Instead, in order to survive and make a profitable game, you've got to focus on what matters. And Jeff is going to break down what matters. You may also be wondering how to turn that $100,000 or $1 million game idea into actual money. And some of you might want to do it before you even finish your game. For that, I have a gift below for you. It's totally free. It's a workshop that shows you how to turn small game ideas into actual money. You strike me as a rarity for most indie game developers. I think a lot of people listening right now, and the majority of the audience listening, by the way, is aspiring indie game developers.
Okay.
A lot of them listening right now will probably admit that they are really good at one thing or the other, meaning really good at the business side of things, knowing how to schedule, to stay on task, knowing when to limit themselves, knowing when good is good enough. So some people are really good at that, but they're not really good at the purity of the craft and being really staying true to their creative essence, right? And you strike me as someone who you're both things, because I'll listen to your talks and you're like, it's good enough, just get it done. And you said at one point, I have a quote here, you said you don't make hits. And you talk a lot about how you just don't polish certain things because it's just not worth it to you and you want to make some money. And you're very honest about that.
Oh yeah.
However, you're also saying here that there are certain things that are really important to you that also you polish the crap out of, like the story, right? And the gameplay. So I guess my question to you is it that you don't want to make a hit and that you don't believe it's worth shooting for the moon? Or is what you're really saying deep down is there are certain things that don't matter to you in your games?
So by the standard, in 1997, I released a game called Exile 3 Ruined World. And by the standards of shareware games, that was a legit hit. A legit hit now means $100 billion. A legit hit then meant, got a house.
Yeah.
But, I had, by any reasonable standards, a hit. But I think that whether you have a hit or not is a bit out of your control. It's about that when you having not just a success but a phenomenon is catching lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
there's a magical element of it. But since if you are listening to me now and you are a beginning indie developer, run. Oh God, run like the hounds of hell are after you. Find a shed in the woods. Just stay away. Okay, so everything you were just talking about, I can answer by going back once again to the fact we're artists.
Yeah. And
every artist has their own process. Every artist has their stuff they're good at and not good at. Like, for example, business. To a certain extent, you have to have a head for business. But, we're artists. A lot of us don't. Salvador Dali was great at business. Monet was great at business.
Really?
Vincent van Gogh was not. Vincent van Gogh was not good at a lot of things, though I understand he had quite a way with the ladies. But yeah, you have to go along with. You have to figure out, what am I good at? What am I bad at? If you want to make a living in this business, there's no dishonor in being a hobbyist. God knows, hobbyist game developers are awesome. If you want to make a living at it, at some point you are either going to have to develop some kind of a gut feeling for business or have a very close trusted associate who does have a head for business.
Yes.
And for one thing about business, for example, is Time is money. Your time is your most valuable asset. You need to make sure as much as possible your time is being used in a profitable way, which means you can't polish everything, because if you do, your game's never going to come out, and then you are what are you even doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, and so I figure out I have one of my superpowers in this business is I have kind of a gut sense for what I really need to be working on versus this I can let slide a little bit. Like I like to say, I've been using the same icon for wolves in my games for probably about 15 years. Because if it's a good icon of a wolf, it's still going to be a good icon of a wolf 2 years later. And eventually I will get that wolf art redone when I'm sick of looking at it.
Yeah.
When I go into the game and I see an icon, I go, oh God, I'm so tired of looking at this. Then I pay money to get it redone.
Yeah.
But I reuse art mercilessly. I license art, like I get royalty-free art packs on online asset stores mercilessly. Then I Photoshop them because they always need a little bit of work to make them blend in with the game, and I'm getting better at that. The new game is going to be way better at that than our previous ones were. But yeah, and so. And then if I find a really good piece of art of, say, a monster, I might rewrite the game a little bit so that it's that sort of monster instead of what I was using, so I could use the big piece of art. I'm very cheap. Very, 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 very cheap.
But you're not cheap when it comes to the things you're good at. Right? So like writing character dialogue.
I'm not
takes a ton of your time, right?
Oh yeah. It's writing dialogue is the hardest part. It's really, I find it really tiring. I work a lot more at that, but for that I don't want to say cheap, but I do want to say frugal, which is to say I put in time and energy, and I'm 55 years old. The energy is limited. I put in just enough energy and time to make it work at a level where I'm like, this is good, it's satisfying, and it is in balance with the things around it, which is to say all of the characters have the amount of dialogue that is appropriate for their role in the game. But once I get there, I stop. Very often, all the time, my beta testers say to me, wouldn't it be cool if this character said this? Wouldn't it be cool if this character reacted to this? To which I say, yes, it would. That was a very good, that is very cool. I am tired.
Exactly.
Or I got to put out the next fire, or I got to do the next thing, or I got a whole nother town to do. I just when I play these games on streams, when I'm selling them, my head is constantly screaming all the things I could have done. And if I was Larry, and if I was working on Baldur's Gate 3, all of those things can be done. But as it is, I'm just trying to put enough into it so it feels, and I'm going to use a word that actually could become kind of a pet peeve for me. It really aggravates me in marketing, and yet sometimes it's hard not to use it. Rich. I'm trying to put enough of it that the game feels rich. The story feels rich, but as in detailed, as in it feels real, as in it's engaging. But I'm old enough and cranky enough that I'm just gonna start using the word good.
Yeah.
I mean, in my marketing, I'm just gonna say, look, the story's good. I didn't half-ass it, okay? Yeah. It's got a beginning and middle and end, interesting characters and interesting choices.
How do you know stories, if it is?
I got one. But I don't want to use the word rich because nobody knows what that means.
Yeah, well, how do you know when you've hit good enough?
I feel it. It's a feeling in my chest.
It's purely up to you, not your audience.
That's a question. How? And I've been asked this question before. How do you know when it's done? How do you know when it's good enough? And to which I can only say, man, that's where the art is.
Yes.
I have a friend who's a professional artist. His name is Phil Folio. He's been doing it a million years, and he's told me that like the art is in knowing when to stop. At getting to, and one of my favorite TV shows, Community. My favorite line from that is, "It's better than good. It's good enough."
That's right.
You have to just develop a sense. And for me, honestly, it is a physical feeling. When I write a character, when I write a story, when I think of an idea, and it's correct and it works, I feel like a sense of craftsmanship, of satisfaction, of peace in my chest, and that's when I know I'm onto something. It's go with your gut. In video game developing and in life, your gut is a powerful resource, and it'll tell you when what you're working on is the right thing.
Yeah.
Or the right thing for you. Bear in mind, if it's perfect for you, it may still fail. But but it's the only thing you can do. When you're an artist, you have to do the art that works for you and works for your process, and that you can get up in the morning and stand to make it.
Yeah.
I mean, indie games so much is about finding the next hot thing and trying to copy that thing before everyone else copies that thing. And that's some people's process. It's difficult to me to comprehend that. Yeah. I know there are people out there now starting their new Vampire Survivors clone, and I don't have a personal understanding of how anyone could start a Vampire Survivors clone now. Yeah. If you want to make money, here's your hot tip. Start your awesome Vampire Survivors clone in about, I'm going to say, 2032.
Yep.
Someone is going to write a Vampire Survivors clone in 2032, and they're going to make bank.
And it'll be retro, it'll be considered retro. You may also be wondering how to turn that $100,000 or $1 million game idea into actual money. And some of you might want to do it before you even finish your game. For that, I have a gift below for you. It's totally free. It's a workshop that shows you how to turn small game ideas into actual money.